has been taken over by forces of the unknown. You have been warned, so listen at your own risk. Be prepared as we discuss the paranormal. We will talk about things unseen, unknown, and unexplained. Here on Half Past Dead Paranormal Radios, with your host, Roger Belt.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio. I'm your host, Roger Belt, and I have with me tonight Miss Kristin Lee. We did an interview back last year. It's called the Bellaire House, and so assumingly this one is called Return to the Bellaire House for reasons. There's a lot of updates to go through. Now, I'm going to let Miss Kristin Lee come in here and tell you a little bit about herself and about the property and what basically how it all came about. After I say hello, Miss Kristin Lee, and welcome aboard.
Hey, Roger. Thanks so much for having me back. It's such a pleasure doing a show with you. Congratulations on your new show. Yay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
She is wonderful, you guys. You're going to love her. So, anyway, without further ado, kind of give everybody a little rundown about yourself and how you got involved with this place in the first place, how you wound up owning this house. And
okay. Well, Yeah, oh boy, let's rewind about 10 years. Well, first of all, my name's Kristin Lee. I own the Bellaire House. It's in Bellaire, Ohio. How we found the house, our entire family was affected by 2 flash floods, and we ended up homeless. And the flash floods were Ivan and Francis. They came in, it was in September, was it 2004, I believe it was. I could be wrong on that date. It's been, like I said, probably about 10 years, if not longer. Like I said, we ended up homeless. Our houses were destroyed. My son's family's houses were destroyed. We all lived in this little area called Quincy, Ohio, which is about 10, 15 minutes from Bellaire, Ohio, which is where the house is. I was at work, and, FEMA had come in. They assessed all the damages on the flood zone, and they awarded me and my 2 sons $25,000 to rebuild our lives. So we were extremely ecstatic that we had $25,000 to put down on a house, but $25,000 isn't a lot. So me being frugal, I went into the Belmont County Auditor's website, and I found foreclosures because I figured if we could get a good deal on a foreclosure. And then I found the Bellaire House, and I called the realtor, and we met that night about 7 o'clock, and I signed a promissory note on the house. The house was amazing. And when we walked into the house, it was humongous. It's an old colonial home, hardwood floors, jigsaw fireplaces, bay windows, gables in the attic, bricks in the kitchen, 4 bedrooms, full attic, dining room, living room, foyer, full basement, huge yard for the dog to run, wraparound porch, just great. A great old, beautiful house. And
I love those kind of houses anyway.
Yeah, it was, woodwork was original. The ceilings were original. It didn't need an awful lot of work. It needed maybe $6,000 worth of work. And, we moved in. And, I've been a psychic medium most of my life, ever since I was little. But I never, when you're in a homeless situation where you're actually homeless and you just want to place your family and you want your kids to sleep in a bed instead of a floor or a couch, you don't notice any kind of paranormal activity. You just want to place yourself. You want to be able to have your belongings in one place. And that's honestly the goal for me, was to get a home, get the kids stabilized, and get them well on their way toward their level of success in life. So when we moved into the house, I had no idea and no feelings that there was paranormal activity in the house. I was just so happy and praising God and all the gods that we finally had a chance to rebuild our lives, and that was where my mind was. But shortly after we moved in, we had noticed we started doing repairs and we had noticed that there were things that would come up missing, like hammers, big boxes of tile, and you can't pick up a big box of tile, things like that would just come up missing. But I believe that the most profound thing that had happened while we were there at the house is I was asleep on the couch one night. My son was on the other end of the couch, and our dog Bella was in the middle, and my son's father was asleep in a chair under the bookshelf in the living room. I felt the cushion go down, and, I thought it was my son's father, which is thought that we were going to have a good time that night. But no, it wasn't. I opened up my eyes, and there was this gray figure of a man, and it startled me. I sat up, and I screamed, "Who are you? And what do you want?" And he had walked out of the living room into the foyer, and he vanished. And that was the first profound experience that I had had in the house. Shortly after that, because of the flood, I had lost my glasses, so I was at Walmart, and I was waiting in the waiting room for my prescription to be filled, and I was talking to an old local man who was in his 90s, and he had told me that he knew about the Bellaire House. He knew that an old seer used to live there, and the seer would people would come from all over the United States to meet with this man and, have their connect with their deceased loved ones, whatnot. And I didn't think anything of it, I just didn't think anything of it at that time. But and I didn't correlate that this could potentially be this apparition that I saw. It just didn't make any sense to me. All I wanted was my glasses. I knew I had to get home. I knew I had to stop at the Lowe's store to pick up nails and stuff like that. And my mind was fixing up this house, making sure the kids were okay. But you know what I mean? That's where my mind was. I hadn't even been working in the metaphysical world. I just wanted stability for the family. But rewind or fast forwarding to now, to today, we have learned many things about this house. We've learned that there was a man named Jacob Hetherington who had come to Bellaire from England, and he was a tycoon, a coal tycoon. He owned coal mines, and they ran about a mile and a half from the Bellaire House all the way down through Bellaire. And there was an explosion under the Bellaire House where it had killed 78 coal miners. Now, Roger, when we spoke last time, we thought it was 42, but the Foreman brothers, Josh and Rocky, came in, and Josh and Rocky did more research on that coal mine explosion, and Josh actually printed out the names, the list of the casualties, and 2 rescuers that were actually killed from that coal mine explosion, which did occur right underneath of the house. So the total was 72 at that, and we didn't know that. We thought it was 42. So that was the coal mine explosion.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of them. And behind the house is a native burial and native caves. And locals, when I came into the house, we left the house so many times, but when I had come back from Salem, Massachusetts, where I was working, a man named Jim Johnston had told me that there were native caves and native burials behind the house. With research at that point in time, a lady named Kristin Carter had discovered that it was a Shawnee Indian tribe. It wasn't Cherokee like predominantly Bellaire is known for, but it was actually Shawnee. And we traced it back to the French and Indian War that had occurred from that point in Bellaire, like Moundsville, where the mound is, where the prison is, which is 8 miles from the Bellaire House, all the way to a place called Neufs, Ohio. That's where the French and Indian War had occurred on that land. And if you ever drive through Bellaire, you'll see that the football mascot is a native. It's a Indian head and feathers and stuff like that. So it's very it's a very native community, but also there's the Italian and the Irish that are there too. There's so many things that have happened in the house. When we left the first time, we had a handful of renters, so many renters that would come and go, so many renters that would rent, but then, they would leave. The last renters that left, they stayed the longest. We called him Chuck Norris because, he was a badass. He was the one that stayed the longest. And they called one day and they said, we packed everything up and we left the key on the counter. Can you come do a walkthrough? We just, we want to go. And, we're like, you've paid rent. You've paid the whole month. And he's like, yeah, we know, but we just want to go. So when we got to the house, he had a lot of anxiety with him. The house did feel odd. It felt just very heavy, extremely heavy. He told me that he was walking through the kitchen, going into the bathroom off of the kitchen, and the chandelier came a half of an inch from just slamming him in the head. It fell out of the ceiling. And I think that was the last straw for him. But a month prior to that, he had come to pay rent. He came to my apartment because I own a house. I own the Bellaire House, but I don't live there. I just can't live there. So we rent. But he came to our rental, and he told us that he had found a secret passage in the basement behind the furnace, and he did some research, and he correlated it to the Underground Railroad movement. Now, I still have not yet looked into that because when he left, I panicked, and I got a hold of some old friends in the paranormal world, and we started running tours out of the house. We started inviting paranormal teams to come and investigate, and we also did public investigations inside of the house with people that were equipped to do investigations so no one would get hurt. So we really haven't had time to actually look into if that was the Underground Railroad movement. We don't know for sure. I don't know when we're going to get to that, to be honest with you. But he did state that was, he did find the research at the library, and I believe him. And I think that, him knowing that and the chandelier and some things that had happened to his family while they lived there, I think that those were all reasons why they left. But since then, we've been running tours, not a lot of public tours. I think we've done maybe 4 public tours, but predominantly it's been private teams coming in and spending the night. And, we've had a lady, Chris Appis's team, it's called Moonlight Paranormal. They came in first. They were the first people in the house, since the renters were there. Since the renters left. And a lady named Robin, who was up in the attic, the wardrobe had fallen on her, and they had all seen it fall on her. And it wasn't any kind of a unleveled or flooring or anything like that. It's just something that we do not know of, something paranormal, hurt her so bad that she dislocated her shoulder and she ended up in a doctor's urgent care. So the activity was quite malicious at that point in time. And when, I don't know if I spoke to you after Bishop Long had come into the house. Did we speak after that or before that?
Yeah, you told me that he was coming, but, this was before the whole thing happened, I guess.
Okay. Well, we got a lot to catch up on. Yeah, Bishop Long and Kat Lane came in. They are the paranormal clergy. Bishop Long is an exorcist. He is with the Old Catholic Church.
I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but I do want you to tell people about the house that Jack built, because everybody was so excited when I was talking about that.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
wow.
Taking it all the way back. All the way back to like the 1800s. The man that built the Bellaire House was named Jacob Hetherington, and like I said, he was a coal mining tycoon, and he actually had a mule, an actual mule, a jackass, help him build his house. And that's what, in that old fable, this is the house that Jack built. That's where that derived from. And it derived in a little old rinky-dink town called Bellaire, Ohio. And that's where, that fable came from. But Jack not only helped him build his house, he was his best friend. And he brought Jack into his house all the time and kept him like a pet, kept him like a dog. Like we have cats and dogs, and they sleep with us and stuff like that. And they lay on the furniture. Jack, the mule, would go into Jacob Hetherington's home and just be part of the family. He actually blessed the house. When Jacob Hetherington would have parties, Jack would be right beside him in those parties. So that's a little odd, it's a little hokey, but for a man to be so close to him. What's that?
I said, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. But, and then Jack would take out all of the coal. He would strap stuff to his back, and Jack would pull out all of the crates or barrels of coal out of the coal mine, and best friends. And he is buried on that property. He did have a mate. I don't remember what her name was, but Jacob did get him a mate, so Jack did have a girlfriend. And they're both buried. They're both buried under an apple tree on the property.
Wasn't there something said about him when he built the house, taking Jack through every room as it was completed, and
blessing
him?
Yes. Jacob Hetherington took the mule Jack throughout every room of that big old house. And if you Google it, Google the house, you'll still see it. He blessed every house or every room in that house. So Jack and they were best friends. And there is, the Bellaire Public Library has so much history and so many pictures about the two of them. If you're ever in town, if you ever want to come and tour the house, come early and go to the, local library, and you can definitely see some of the old things that they have in there, that are in relation to the house that Jack built. But right now it's no longer there. They tore it down and they put a building, a hotel. It's called the 7 Inn, which it's abandoned now too. But the Bellaire House is it's in the First Ward. It's called First Ward. It's in the southern part of Bellaire. They call it South Bellaire or First Ward. And there's a coal mine. The coal mine shaft goes from Pinch Run, which is about a half a mile right of the house, going into Shadyside, Ohio, and then it goes all the way to St. John's Catholic Church. And a couple of years ago, the coal mine had actually, they had to shut the school down because there was gases coming from the coal mine into the high school, and they had to let the kids out early. So, the coal mine is still active. Not that they're mining for coal, but it's still there. It still has the gases and stuff that come up out of it every now and then, and it kind of, shuts some businesses down. But it isn't much of a problem, with that part of it. Trying to think where to go next, Roger.
The river is across the road, right?
That's right. The Ohio River is across the road. So if you have, the coal mine explosion, the Ohio River, which is a constant source of energy, and, everybody in paranormal knows that constant source of energy of a flowing river does trigger paranormal activity, but also with the native burial in the cave behind the house, that's a ley line or a lee line, however you want to say it. But that is a hot spot of paranormal activity. And
the ley lines produce an energy, in my opinion, that helps make paranormal activity that's there. It kind of increases the energy of it, I think.
Correct. Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. Yes. And, you can go into the Bellaire House at, 9 o'clock in the morning or noon or 3 o'clock or midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's going to be some sort of activity in that house. It isn't, when you shut the lights out and it's dark that, you get spooky. No, it's spooky all of the time. My husband and I, we're just in there today. And, I was thinking about you when I was in there today, Roger, because because it was so odd. It's so very odd how all of this is just, it's resurfacing again. It's like all these people that I haven't seen for so long, they're coming back into the picture. Remember when I told you when I filed bankruptcy on the house and I just, I walked away from the house. I didn't want anything to do with the house at all. Yeah, and the code enforcer at the time had called. Jim Chase had called me when I was in Massachusetts, and he kept calling, and I just, I would ignore him, and then finally his last voice message was, Kristin Lee, get your butt back to Bellaire, Ohio, because I'm going to start fining you unless you cut the grass. Well, that made me angry. I was like, don't threaten me. So I called him, and I said, Mr. Chase, with all respect, I don't own the house anymore. And he said, but you do. They squashed the debt, and you have your house back. He was the one that notified me. The attorney didn't notify me. No one notified me that I still owned that house. I was, off skipping and jumping that I finally got out of it. It was just like, woohoo, I don't have the Bellaire House curse anymore, because that's what it feels like. It felt like a curse. It felt like it was always on my back, and I could never get away from it. Even with the renters, when we tried to rent it out, and even when we cleansed it, there would always be some sort of attachment where I would have to go back. And when I filed bankruptcy, in my mind, I thought, this is it. We're never going to have to deal with this house ever again. And it was completely opposite. Now we're more involved with that house than I think we are, or we were when we lived with it.
Well, do you ever get the impression that there's one of those things that's meant to be?
I don't want to think like that, to be honest with you, because with what's inside of that house, I don't know how that could be meant to be. I don't. It's just the negativity, the darkness, the emptiness. It's just, you walk into that house and you know something's off kilter. You know that something isn't right. You can feel the tragedy. You can feel the death, the grief, and it's just not.
Let me change my point here then and see if I can make sense of it. What I'm saying is you filed bankruptcy, you did everything you could to get rid of this place, but you couldn't get rid of the place.
No,
so
nobody wanted it.
You weren't meant to be there by some kind of strange, weird reason. Could possibly the entities in that house have affected things to make sure that you couldn't leave it?
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely. Would you want to hear about my week?
Well, yeah.
It's. I tell you what, Roger. I don't know, man. I don't understand it. I don't want to understand it. It's almost like it's a test of my will. How, the house is testing my will. What all can we take away from Kristin Lee and her family in order to get her back here, to make her dwell in this house? And I told my husband today, I said, you know what, screw it. I said, we can't keep forking out $500-600 for this, $700-800 for that. We can't keep doing this. I said it'd be more practical and more economically sane if we just went back. And he looked at me and he said, have you lost your mind? He said, do you know what's in that house? And I said, no, I haven't lost my mind. He said, you have to really sink your feet into the will of God and fight this, because that house is trying to destroy you again. And he's right. He's absolutely right.
Listening to us too, right?
Yeah, he's sitting here beside me. He is listening, and he's just shaking his head at me. Pointing his finger. But,
no.
The house has just cost so much. I mean, the positive, I try to be as most positive as I can in life. Honest to God, I do. But the positive part about this is people that are interested in paranormal and people that want to prove that there is life after death and there is spirit and spirit does communicate with us, this is the perfect playground for them. This is absolutely the perfect playground for anybody that's interested, that is a skeptic. Come to the Bellaire House, because you're not going to be a skeptic when you walk out the door. You're going to believe that there is life after death and spirit does communicate with us. That's the positive part. But for us, as a family,
I'm going to stop by. I promise.
I know you will. But for us as a family, I'm going to be honest with you. It's a pain in the ass. It really is. It's just a pain because there's so many things that we could do, with, like, for instance, the utilities, they're on. The repairs of the house. We just had to sink money into the roof because the roof was leaking. So there's extra money that, we could have put toward a bill, or we could have put toward, our son's college education. But no, we have to sink it back into the Bellaire House. It's just, it's been a bad week. It's been a really bad week. And it just seems like we're getting deeper and deeper in debt because of the house, and it seems like the house knows it. But getting back to Jim Chase, the gas was turned on, and Columbia Gas had come to turn the gas on, but the man that had met them, the groundskeeper that had met them, didn't realize that the electricity the main wasn't turned on, so there had been no heat in the house. And, a pipe busted, so there's another expense. We have to deal with that next week, of course. And then Jim Chase shows up just out of the blue. Here comes Jim Chase, the man that threatened to, fine me all these hundreds of dollars a day until I cut the grass. Well, he humbly came to the house and he fixed things today. He got the gas turned on. He got everything. So the house does have gas now. It's unthawing. There was so much ice on the windows, you wouldn't believe it. It looked like one of those snow globes. It did. So we've got the gas on 64 degrees, trying to thaw that house out. So and it's a big old house, and the gas bill is probably going to be $800-900 a month. That's just the norm for that house because it is so big. The electricity's on. We have to pay people to go check on the house. It's walk in. We had such a hard time finding a contractor to come and fix the roof. We asked 5 or 6 contractors, well, we're not going to that haunted house. We're not climbing on top of that haunted house's roof. We'll die. So finally this brave man, oh gosh, what was his name, Daniel? Joseph Toth. Joseph Toth and his contracting company came, and they climbed up on the roof. We gave them, protection. We prayed. We did everything. And, he said he would come back and fix whatever else we need to fix. So we finally have somebody that's brave enough to come in the house to do repairs. That is a good thing. So that's a positive thing, too. But it's just, it's an old house, and it does need work. And like I said, when I walked away from it, we just let it go. We didn't think that we would ever have to go back to it. So, it did sit empty for a long time, and, we got things up and running back in the day, and, we ran some tours out of it. But then, I had a business partner back then. I had an investor, because when I first came back and I met Jim Chase at the municipal building in Bellaire, fresh out of Pittsburgh Airport, my mom and my old Aunt Rosie picked me up, and they brought me home into Belmont County. And I went to sleep for a little bit, and then I woke up, and I went down to Bellaire to meet Jim Chase to see what this guy was all about, to see how big and bad he actually really was. And he was just this happy old little guy, just a happy old guy. And he told me that he would go into the house with me. And it had sat empty for years, And when we went in, people had come in and taken the copper pipes, the copper wiring. They tried to remove the fireplaces. Homeless people had lived in there for some time. And I met a man named Jim Johnston, and through Jim Chase, and Jim said, look, your paranormal team, not that I'm on a team, but the team that came in, OVPRI, had investigated with Kentucky Ghost Scouts, and the data that they collected was good enough to where we were all on an episode of My Ghost Stories. And they flew us out to L.A., and we were filming for that. And then when we had come back, I told Jim, both Jims, I said, look, I don't want the house. Just give me $1. Take the house. I don't want to live here. We have our life somewhere else. We don't want to be here. And, Jim Johnston pulled me aside, and he said, it's you wrote a book. This team has been all over TV. He said, why don't you build some revenue of tourism for Bellaire, and let's turn this into a paranormal attraction. And at that time, I wasn't keen on that. I knew it wasn't a good idea. I knew nothing about paranormal teams and investigating and stuff like that. I wasn't schooled. I wasn't educated. And all I felt was somebody's going to get hurt in that house, and it's not a great idea. It's not the best idea that I've ever heard. But if you want to do it, go ahead. Well, he threw down a lot of money, and we ended up fixing the house. We fixed everything in the house, from the water pipes to the plumbing to the ceiling to, the electricity. Everything was like a house you could live in again. And we started running paranormal tours for a couple of months. And sure enough, a man named Jeff Taflin, we call him the GOAT, he was pushed through the second-story window while he was doing a tour. And at that point in time, everybody knew, wow, this house is really off the chain. It's not a safe house. So we pulled the plug, and we did some cleansings in the house. We had people come in and do cleansings. We didn't do any kind of solemn rites or anything like that, because back then I didn't even know what that was, but we did cleansings enough to where we thought that the activity was minimal, to where we could have renters come in and they would be safe if they didn't, open anything up. They never stayed. They just never stayed. Went through probably 2 or 3 renters from that point. And then finally, Daniel and my son and I, we had no choice but to move back into that house. And that was very difficult. While I was dating Daniel, before we got married, he knew that the house was haunted, because I told him, but he didn't know the severity of the house. He just didn't know. I had called him. He had lived the next town over, and I had called him one night when the windows were shaking, the doors were slamming. You could hear footsteps all up in the attic and the second story, and it was my son and I, and it was bad. It was just so bad. And he came, and he and I and our son, we huddled on the couch together, and it was bad. I mean, you could just hear slam, boom, bang, and it's just cupboard smacking. It was doors just slamming. It was so bad, and we finally ended up going and staying at his house. And then I was at a psychic fair. I was working a psychic fair, and one of my old buddies, Joe Estates, came in, and Gina Palmer was at the psychic fair too. She's a very, very, very good psychic. They both came in, and they did a cleansing, a full cleansing. Their coven did a cleansing. Daniel and I were present for it, and after they did the cleansing, and it was about 8 hours. We were drained. We were done. We were just so tired after that. The activity did diminish, but it was harvest moon. I was out on the porch, I call it the porch, but it's in the office area on the second story. It's a little part of the roof that I go on to see the river and to see the moon come up and that sort of thing, play some guitar. And I did see the little girl spirit walk through the office and go up to the attic. So she was still there, but that night was just super intense. It was extremely intense. There was a lot of activity in there, and Joe he identified 11 portals, and he had closed all 11 of them. When he went to the attic, he literally passed out. He went inside the secret passage of the attic, and he fell on his knees. He was in tears. He was crossing over so many children. He said that there were so many children, spirits in that attic, and I had to leave the attic at that time. I couldn't. It was just too intense. I couldn't watch my friend be so affected by what was in there. That was just that was. I think that was the worst thing that I'd ever seen in that house. That was. Well, the house preys. It preys on you. It preys on the people that you love the most. It does. If you walk into that house and you say things about your family members, it will come through on the ovulus, and it will speak in sentences. It will speak in sentences on the ghost box. It will say people's names. It will try to manipulate you to get you to be close to it so it can affect you and drain you and take your energy. That's what this house does. It's funky old house.
Get for a second, please. You guys, this is Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio. We're on Paranormal Talk 101. My guest is Kristin Lee. I'm your host, Roger Belt, and I want to ask you if your husband would mind just,
I just told him.
real briefly, giving us his opinion on it.
Yeah, he's in. I think he's in queue. We're in tune tonight, Roger Belt. I tell you what, we work well together. I know what you're thinking.
Well, I mean, I kind of wanted to get his side of, what he thinks about it, how he feels about it, the house, being in the house.
Yeah, I think he's in queue right now. It's a 740 area code.
Okay, hold on. I'm in the chat room instead of being where I need to be. Okay.
You'll have to go in the other room.
Oh, there you are.
You there?
I'm here. I have
go in the other room.
Too many fish in the bowl.
I can hear everybody.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm all right. How are you?
I am just fine. And Danny, by the way, Kristin, Chet Banks and people in the chat room said that you're awesome and give you their regards.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting Roger's show, and thanks for, listening to us, talk about the Bellaire House. It means a lot. Thank you for all of your support, everyone in the chat room and the audience that isn't in the chat room. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, now, getting back to where we are, good sir, what do you personally feel in the house? What kind of, does anything affect you personally?
Yeah. I mean, the house always does. Anytime I think about, me personally, anytime I think about going there, sometimes my energy gets all out of whack because I know what I'm getting ready to walk into, and it's uncomfortable sometimes. And, the other day when I had to go down to check the breaker box and everything for the electric company, I get there, I'm all kind of worked up, energy's out of whack, like I said. I get in the house, go downstairs, do what I need to do, and the whole time I'm in there, I'm listening to music. I'm focusing on, what I'm supposed to do because I try not to, stop a whole lot. I get downstairs, I do it, I get up, I'm back outside, and I get in my truck, getting ready to leave, and I'm just sitting there. And I'm looking at the house, and it started to snow real heavy, you know, like a blizzard coming down. And the only thing that I could picture, all I wanted to do was go back in the house, start a pot of coffee, wait for Kristin to get done work, and wait for our son to get home from school, so that way we could go outside and sled ride. And, you know, I was all, like, excited, and I couldn't wait for it. And it's just, I had to make myself leave and pull away from the house, because I just wanted to go back in and just do all those normal things, you know, that you would normally do.
The whole hair crawling off your head, the skin tingling, and the whole 9 yards like that.
Oh, as soon as you walk in, even today when we went in, it's just, as soon as you step across the threshold, it's just, you just start feeling it. Everything stands up, and you're just waiting for something to happen. It's a heavy house. It does a lot to your emotions, to your body, even physically, mentally, emotionally. It's off the chain. That's for sure.
You know, every time that we go to the house, Roger, we've got our protection. We have to mentally prepare ourselves to go into that house. You know, I walk in with 3 or 4 St. Benedicts around my neck and my arms, and 5 or 6 St. Michaels. It's like, you know, it's bad. It's really bad, and you have to have that. It's almost like the house tests your will. And when when we leave the house, we always come home, and the first thing that we do is kosher salt. We throw kosher salt in the shower, and we cleanse our body, because that removes all the negative energy. Wolf's hair, iron nails, and rue and vervain, we always keep that on us as well, because that is supposed to repel spirits, negative entities, from affecting you emotionally and physically. So it's just, there's so many, we've had to learn to live a different lifestyle. You know, going to Kroger after you leave the house and you've got a whole bunch of chains on where you look like Mr. T, you know, people kind of look at you weird and like, oh, yeah, that's the Bellaire House people. You know, so it does look like it does look like we're a little odd, but, you know, these are the things that, you know, you have to, your crosses, you have to really cling heavy to these symbols in order to gain that will and that strength in order to combat the spiritual activity that is inside of that house.
Now, the coal mine episode, you know, the explosion, whatever, collapse. 70? How many? 71?
I believe Josh Foreman said it was 72, and then 2 rescuers.
And 2 rescuers, so that would be 74 deaths under that house.
We might be off by 2 numbers, but on the video that you posted in the chat room of the Foreman brothers, they just recently have done a documentary on the house, and I advise everybody in the chat room to check it out.
Okay, everybody. We've had some technical difficulties. I'm trying to get my guest called back in right now. However, these things do happen, and I do apologize and hope everybody will hang in there and bear with us. Waiting for my guest to call. Sure she's got the message there. Maybe she'll be... there we go. Hello.
Hey, Roger.
Sorry about that, technical difficulties.
Oh, it could be a number of things. You know, we are planet Mercury retrograde. Mercury is in retrograde. Talking about the Bellaire House, so.
We are back, everybody, and I do apologize for the technical difficulties. And Miss Kristin Lee is back with us, and we're going to kind of try to pick up where we left off, which my mind goes blank. Where were we exactly?
Daniel, we were talking about Daniel's experiences in the house the last time that he was there. He's going to be calling back in here, like, in the next couple of seconds.
Oh, okay,
I just told him that we were back up.
Oh, there he is. Hold on. Okay, is that you, Daniel?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good deal. Okay, we got everybody back, and I was just, I've talked to Kristin before. We did an interview last year, which was an awesome show, by the way. It's got YouTube's just knocked it out of the ballpark. I mean, it's done really good. Of course, when you have a great guest, you're going to have a good turnout. So, anyway.
Thanks, Roger.
when have you ever had anything, this to Daniel, have you ever had anything actually touch you or, feel like you walked into something that isn't normal or, that, and I'm not necessarily talking about like a cold spot. I'm talking about, have you ever like had something to touch you or walked into something where you could feel the energy and you knew there was a presence there?
Oh yeah. For me, the first time I was in the kitchen cooking, and just got home from work and all that good stuff, and I'm in the kitchen cooking dinner, and I forget what Kristin was on, but I was standing there and I feel this hand like go across my shoulders, and I thought it was Kristin, like rubbing my back and stuff like that. So I'm standing there, I feel the hand, and I said, "Oh, I didn't know you were," and I turned around and there's nobody there at all. That happened a few times all throughout the house, different parts, shoulders, arms. Like, when you go up to somebody, you just kind of grab their forearm, like tug on it. I've had that happen a few times. So it's in just various parts of the house. I don't go in the attic unless I absolutely have to.
Okay, now I'm going to ask a personal question, and I hope y'all don't take offense to this, but I've got to know. Have y'all ever been in the bed and had something get in the bed with you?
Well,
a cat.
Or sit on the bed, or you know what I'm saying? Sit on the bed, get in the bed, do anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right, I know what you're saying. No, I don't think so, Daniel. I don't think we have. But the door, we've always locked the door when, Daniel and I were having our special moments. And even we know that the door was locked, the door would somehow open. It would just slowly open. That was odd. That happened a lot.
Okay, so they just opened the locked door and came on in.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's happened.
I'm going to tell you this. This is a thought I came up with, and I don't know why, but out of all the cases, and you hear a lot of this in the paranormal field about entities coming in and sitting down on the bed, and you see the mattress depressed and all that, so you know that there's something actually sitting there. And I thought, well, you have all these trigger items and things out there now that you can use supposedly to get activity, from. And I thought, and you're going to laugh at this, but I thought it was, and even at the thought of it being funny, I thought it was a pretty cool idea. If you have claims like that, if you took a whoopee cushion and put it like under the blanket where the spirit supposedly comes in and sits down at, if it actually did happen and they came in and sit down and you was recording this and they sit down and the whoopee cushion goes off, there's your proof positive, buddy.
They must have ate my pasta that night.
I know it sounds funny, but it would be direct proof. It would be if you had that happen. So now that everybody's had now that everybody's had to laugh, we'll carry on with things.
It's either that or somebody's going to get smacked for, what are you doing that for?
Yeah. It's inappropriate.
Now,
what's wrong with you?
Now, if you guys were in the bed and you had the whoopee cushion in there, and an entity come in and sat down on the whoopee cushion and you were asleep, and it sounded like somebody cut a big one, I could just see Kristin rolled over and, what the heck are you doing?
Or the other way around. That's normal, Roger. That's a normal activity, bodily function 5 or 6 times a night. So that probably wouldn't work.
So you're saying the whoopee cushion would do any good then?
No, probably not. Oh my goodness, no.
It's a good thought, though. But yeah,
Okay.
that house is it's off the chain and stuff. The first time I seen like a full in the flesh apparition, what I thought was a person, was the little girl Emily. That was the.
Do you guys
first
have
time.
any pictures, or, of the entity or anything
We do.
weird like that?
Yeah, we have a lot of pictures. They're on the website, as well as if you Google Bellaire House on Facebook, we have a Bellaire House Facebook page. Go through some of the pictures. One of the most profound pictures that was depicted on my ghost stories was the stairwell, where you could actually see a spirit, a white mass of energy on the stairwell. That was extremely profound. But also, too, there's videos on there. Marge from the Jersey Shore area, she came in when Bishop Long had done his lectures on demonology and possession inside of the house, and she actually caught spirit on film, and that is on the Bellaire House Facebook page. That one definitely is. So that's something to check out.
So everybody go check out the Bellaire House on Facebook and look at the pictures and read some of the info. It'll be awesome. You'll love it.
I think that we've been offering. We've furnished 2 bedrooms upstairs for people that travel long distance, because we don't want somebody investigating all night and then having to drive home. If they can hack it, if they can handle the house, there's beds there for people to sleep. You can take showers, and we also offer, a little continental breakfast like quiche and fruit and stuff like that for people. We call it the Bellaire House Bed and Brunch, because nobody's going to bed and breakfast. I mean, if you go to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to want to wake up at 8 and get on the road. We don't expect people to do that. We want to have people safe, especially our paranormal family and our paranormal community. So right now we do have 2 furnished rooms where people can stay after they're done investigating, shower, eat, and, get back on the road. Because some people travel, 9, 10, maybe even 12 hours to come and investigate the Bellaire House. And it is a house, and although it's haunted and it's very extremely active, we want people to be comfortable too when they get to, so they can be rested up to get on the road for safety. So that's something as well.
I would just eat that up. I love it. I'd be like,
yeah,
I want to run for the weekend.
People have done that. People have come and they rented a room for the whole weekend, and that's fine too. Whatever, it's open. It's definitely open for research and investigation and data collection. We all know that there's life after death, and there's so many different locations.
I want you to kind of explain to the listeners about the prices for the investigation stuff and everything, because, yes, she does charge for investigations, but it's not like most places where, they're trying to rip people blind. So I kind of wanted to give them an idea, that it's not a paper breaker to come up there.
No, it's not. I mean, every penny that's made in the fees of getting into the house goes directly into the utility bills and the repair of the house. We're not making any money off of this. God, I wish we were, but we're not. And I don't think we ever will. But it's $45 a person, minimum of 4 people on a team, or 4 people, as guests that come in. Maximum for private tours is 10. So, you got to have 4 people at $45 a piece coming in, 10 at the most. So, and you spend the night. We meet you there at 7 o'clock, and you leave at noon. If you need to sleep, then it would be $75 a night, per person that wants to sleep there and shower there and eat and, stay until, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it is a good duration of time. But we do have special events, like Amy Jo is coming on February 13th. she is going to be a celebrity paranormal investigator, and she's invited a lot of people to come. And when we have celebrity investigators that come, we do lower the price because it will max out at that 10. We'll probably have 15, maybe to 18 at the most. And at that point in time, it's only $35 a person. But if people do want to spend the night in a room and, take advantage of like the bed and brunch, then it would be $75 a person. But, if you and your team want to come in and rent the whole weekend, let me know. We're not going to kill your piggy bank. I think I quoted $500 for a whole weekend one time for a team, and that's not out of the question. We'll definitely open that back up. So
okay,
that's what we've been doing. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to go on a little break here, and everybody go refill your coffee, tea, or whatever you got to do. Go take your personal little break, whatever you need to. We'll be back here very shortly, so hang in there. Okay, people, we are back, and I hope y'all enjoyed the Oz, man. I love Ozzy.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on, let me get back over here. Anyway, this second period here, we're going to talk a little bit about the team that came in with Reverend James Long and what all kind of took place during that. And there is a video, y'all guys. I did put a link up here earlier at the beginning where you can go and watch it's like a trailer or a mini.
That's actually the full documentary. What I sent you is the full documentary. The Foreman Brothers. You got to watch that one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got to go back
you have
now
to watch
and see the rest of it. But anyway,
yeah, the Foreman Brothers.
The link is up here in the chat room at the top, if I'm not mistaken, where you guys can go and is it up there? Yeah, it's up there. Okay, good deal. Okay, it's on YouTube, and you can go check that out. And I watched a little mini version of it, and it's awesome. So I got to go see the rest myself. But anyway,
yeah, they actually have a YouTube channel. It's called Living Dead Paranormal. Josh and Rocky Foreman, they came in the beginning of December, and they did a documentary of the house. And they are the only team thus far that has spent an entire night in that house. They're the only ones that have made it through the whole entire night.
Dang. Well, that just makes me want to come even more.
Yeah, they've been in the paranormal world. I know them at least for 10 years. We met at a Paracon, a UnityCon, at the old Emmett House before it burned down in Waverly, Ohio. That's where I met them guys, and they're really cool. They have their own YouTube channel. You check out their stuff. They're a hardcore paranormal team. They're very, very professional, and they're really good at what they do. So it was an honor to have them come to the house. It was great. It was good to catch up with them too. It's been a long time. But that night, the Bishop came in with Kat Lang to do why Bishop came was he has a homeless ministry where he goes through Louisville, Kentucky, and he provides blankets and food and other things that homeless people need for the dead cold winter months, and he tries to help them. And we had a fundraiser in the Bellaire House for him, and we raised over $1,000 to go to the his homeless ministry. And he had, it was a great turnout. We had probably 20 people there, 18 to 20 people there each night. And they got to meet Bishop, and he did a big projection screen of possession and demonology. He educated people, and we had food, and then we started investigating with Bishop. And he pulled out the ovulus in the master bedroom. About 5 years prior to that, maybe a little bit longer, OVPRI, Amanda and Mike McAllister, and Kentucky Ghost Scouts, they were in the back bedroom, and they were running an ovulus. And this is where Bella, my dog, had her puppies. And over the ovulus, back then, when OVPRI and Kentucky Ghost Scouts were there, it kept saying 1 blessed be red dog, 2 blessed be red dogs, 3 blessed be red dogs, 4 blessed be red dogs. It went all the way up to 7, and then it finally said 7 blessed be red dogs, and it was speaking like plural. It was using words that were plural. And the first thing about an ovulus is that I learned from Bishop Long is that it does not speak in sentences. It doesn't, and it does not call out people's names. So this did that back then 5 years ago when the participants on this tour of October 9th went with Kat Lang into another room. It was just Bishop and I in that master bedroom. And we actually saw a dark mist just appear in that room, and it came to me, and my whole body was freezing, but then I felt like I was on fire. It was just very odd. It was an odd feeling, and I could see it coming closer, and Bishop had said, "Kristin, look," and I said, "I see it." But he was running the ovulus, and it was actually calling out people's names, and and then all of a sudden it said, 1 blessed be red dog. And I said, "Bishop, that had said that 5 years ago." And it did. It said it verbatim again, and just the same as it was like when the two teams were there prior. But right after it said that, it said demon, 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 and it said it in 3, the Trinity, Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. So it was mocking, what was in that room was definitely mocking the Trinity. And that, when it says, when you have things like that, say things in 3 or 3 knocks, it's just, a mockery of Jesus Christ and the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So it was definitely doing that. We always warn people that come to the Bellaire House, don't eat meat for at least, fast for at least 3 days. Don't try to refrain from meat, because it seems for the past 10 years we have seen this over and over again. When somebody comes in there that just got done eating a great big fat slab of cow, rare, medium well, it doesn't matter, they walk in and they're instantly have a headache, they're instantly attacked. We always tell women, do not come to the Bellaire House if you're on your menstrual cycle. Do not. Just don't. Don't do it. Just stay away. We don't allow any drugs or alcohol, and we do ask people to, refrain from that, because the house is it's different. It is different, and we know some of the things that it will pry on people when people eat meat, when women are on their period. It's just, I remember Kat, her and Bishop had been up at a restaurant before they'd come for the first lecture.
People who aren't in their right mind.
What was that?
People that are not in their right mind due to drugs and alcohol and all that. They will prey on them too.
Yeah. I mean, even if you had a glass of wine, you know what I mean? I wouldn't. I would not. I wouldn't. There was a girl there that was drinking, the second tour, and it's very disrespectful to drink in front of a bishop anyway. You just don't. That's so disrespectful, and especially in that house. You know what I mean? You just don't. And she was just popping one after the other. So we have a new rule that's enforced. Even if you've paid, I don't care how much you've paid, if you are drinking or you're doing anything that's illegal in the house, you're leaving. And you're not getting a refund because you're stupid for doing it in the first place. And that's just, we have that intact. You have to go in there headstrong. It's a spiritual battle. Honest to God, it is a spiritual battle inside that house. And, in the end, good will always win. So when you walk in, have your game on, have your A game on for that house, because it will wear you down. But that night that we were running the tours, it was busy. It was our first tour, and Daniel and I were trying to figure out, does our son have everything that he needs, because he's going to spend the night at Grandma's. And Daniel came to the house, and he said, I forgot his pillow. And I said, what are you talking about, his pillow? And we're outside, in the driveway. And he said, yeah, I didn't bring Staley's pillow. And I'm like, okay, well, we didn't even talk about that. And I said, his vitamins, you took his vitamins, right? He said, oh, his pills, yes, I forgot them. So we were upstairs with Bishop, and he's running that ovulus, and it says Daniel. It says drummer. It says Aquarius. It said my son's name. It said pills or pillow. It picked up everything that our conversation that Daniel and I said, and it flipped it around, and it was, it was praying is what it was doing. It was just trying to feed on that energy, try to put that fear in, because the second that you feel fear in that house, it's got you. It absolutely has you. And it will continue to prey upon you and brick by brick take more fear and just build you up with fear to where it has you. You have to be careful. I can't stress that enough.
Well, a lot of people don't. Me personally, I've not been in a place yet that has made me do a dude run thing, but not something that never will happen. But I go in there, full blown. I don't go in there, and if I know that I'm going in a place that is supposed to be highly active like that, if I don't feel 100% up to par, I won't go. I've got to be full throttle when I go. And
right.
Because that's my positive. If I don't go in there at a full throttle, then I'm not positive, and that allows me to be weak.
That's right.
And that will allow something to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we saw so many people, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning just start feeling sick, during that public tour. There was a little girl that ended up having a fever. There was a little girl that was attacked, and, Kat Lang taught us. I mean, she's very, very educational when it comes to paranormal protection. She taught me some things that I didn't even know. So she said when you start having that fun house effect, like you're wobbling side to side, don't ever turn around. You walk backwards. And, there was a little girl, her feet went numb. Granted, she was at the Outback or something like that, and she had a couple glasses of wine, and, she was on her menstrual cycle, even though we told her not to do it. When we got her outside, she disclosed all of this to the tour guide that was there. But we had to walk her out backwards. That's what Kat taught us. You never turn your back on an entity. You never turn your back on spirit. You always walk backwards. So we had to have some people walk her down the street, and then when she started to feel better, she came back. But she was a skeptic coming in. She was a believer when she left. I mean, we saw a full apparition come down the steps that night. We were around the table in the living room. There was, I'd say, 7 or 8 of us sitting around that table. We watched a man, a spirit man, walk down the steps, go through the foyer, and go into the basement. All of us saw him. It wasn't our imagination.
When you see this stuff and see that's one of the things, you never know when something like that's going to happen. That's why whenever I'm in a location and everything, I make sure I have a camera on me at all times, because you never know when something's going to happen. And nothing may not happen. And even as active of places as you're talking about here, it is a common core knowledge that they don't always act on cue. If you want them to, they're not going to.
That's right.
If you're going in there and you're not expecting that, it's going to catch you off guard, because that's the way they work. To me, I think it's kind of it's an excitement thing in a way, because even if I'm told that stuff goes on in a place, I don't go in there expecting to see what they told me.
Right.
I just go in there and let what's going to happen happen.
Dave Spinks came in, I believe it was last Saturday. I'm pretty sure it was last Saturday. And my goodness gracious, he has a YouTube channel too. We shared the link on the Facebook Bellaire House page. You guys can check that out. It's an hour and a half long. It actually called out my name through the spirit box, and it actually said where I live. It just, it's very, very intelligent. And you hear it clear as day. Clear as day, you hear my name. And he says, well, what's her last name? And it said it. It was like him talking to you and I talking right now. That is how clear it was.
Awesome. I can't help but feel like that a lot of what's going on is due to all the death underneath there. Well, not necessarily just that, but you have the Indian burial mound, in the back. There's just too much too close for it not to have a lot of activity. It's just,
Yeah, it's like a bus stop. It's a bus stop for spirits. They come and they go, and they come and they go, and some stay. Some of them stay. The darker one, it's been there for a long time, a very long time.
I believe that spirits travel. I don't know why. I just always had this feeling that spirits travel, and they may pop in, anywhere. And
yes.
Like you said, come and go, like the bed and breakfast, we're coming in for, our bed and breakfast, but we're leaving.
Right.
Of course, I don't know what they would eat, but anyway, they're just passing through, so to speak.
And they're eating energy. They're eating human energy is what they're eating.
Yeah.
Because it makes them stronger, like our Wheaties.
But they're passing through. They don't intend to stay. They just pop in and pop out. And then you got the ones that are close by that, their energy, I guess, they're where they died, their energy is close by. They're not going to be going anywhere. I have this feeling that they just, and some are good and some are bad.
And there's a mix of it in the house. I mean, you can definitely feel the good spirits, the protective spirits, because when you get that feeling, get out of here. You go. You listen. I mean, you really got to listen to your inner voice at that point, because I feel like it's some sort of, there is protection in there, but some of the other parts of it, you'll be in a room, say an investigator is in a room and they think that their partner's with them. They're sitting there talking to their partner and their partner's not there. The house leads you into different rooms. It kind of separates people. So you have to really be on your toes in that place.
Well, they know that there's strength in numbers. If they can get you away from each other, you're a weaker link.
Right. Yep, that's true.
Now, what Reverend Long, what did he tell you basically about what he felt was, going on?
Well, we had talked about doing a solemn rite. And the solemn rite, if I'm correct, is just like a house blessing, but it's way more intense. We had talked about that, and we really, really wanted to do that, but because honestly, we don't want the house. We wanted to keep it as a rental, but we knew that we couldn't keep it as a rental with the activity that was in the house, and we were very confident that if Bishop did that right, that everything would flatline. We knew it would flatline. We know it would because he's very good at what he does. But let's say that the next people that rent the house come in and they know about the house and they start making contact or trying to conjure up something or pull out a Ouija board or play with a pendulum. They're going to open it back up and it's going to come back 3 times even stronger and it's going to hurt someone. And he warned me about that. So I didn't want it coming back 3 times stronger. And at that point in time, I accepted the fact that I will never be able to rent that house out again. And it's just going to be something that will be strictly for the paranormal community for research and data. And that's exactly what the Bellaire House is while it's in my possession. And I think that once it's no longer in my possession, I won't be here. So as long as I'm here, breathing on this earth, that's what we're going to keep it because we're never going to be able to rent it out. And we would love to sell it. I'm not going to deny that, Roger. I would love to get that out of my hair. We would love to get it out of our hair. We want to move to a tropical island and live the good life. I mean, honestly, we do. But the house is just it's here, and we have to cope with this. If we could. Yeah. What was it, Daniel? What was it? St. Martin is where we really want to go. But that's where we would really like to live.
I can so see that.
Yeah,
so,
right on the beach,
sitting on the beach with the little drink with the little umbrella in it.
Yeah, we deserve that. I mean, we totally deserve that right now. I think a lot of people do in America, but for me, I know we deserve that right now for everything that we've been through. But we need the right person to buy the house.
Yeah.
We need somebody that is a paranormal investigator, that can have the tools to deal with this, that can have the resources to contact if shit hits the fan, because shit will hit the fan. And unfortunately, we haven't found that person yet.
So
we,
just
you know,
curiosity, what would the figures be?
We don't know. Honestly, we don't. We haven't even got that far because we haven't found the person. You know, we haven't found them. When that person comes along, then we can talk about that, you know. But it's not going to be crazy. It's going to be enough for us to get out of it and start our life the way that we want to live, not the way that we have to live, because this isn't something that we want to do.
Well, I hope, I wish you a lot of luck with that, because, you know, everybody wants a better life. Who wants to live in torment, you know?
Right.
And I'm not saying that whoever buys the house, if they do at some point, and I'm sure somebody will, they may be happy there. You know, or they may be happy with what they got, what they're doing. You know, that's fine and dandy. If not, you know, then all I can say is, you know, well, if you can't deal with it, you know, find somebody else that can.
That's right. So we've been putting that out there since day one. We have, you know, and just the right person hasn't come through. And just, you know, they haven't come through.
This is just between you and me and the fence post here, but, you know, I live on disability. I'm not able to work. I don't have much money. But if I could buy a place, I would buy a haunted place. I really would. As weird as this may sound, I'm more afraid of the living than I am the deceased.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, my grandma taught me that. She said, Kristin Lee, you have to be more scared of the living than you do the dead. And I remember that. I remember her saying that, and I hear her voice in my head a lot when I'm in that house, and sometimes that's what gets me through. You know, when we talk about spirit and we talk about the afterlife, the Bellaire House has been it's been a very negative experience, but the opposite side of that, it's very positive. You know, when spirit does, deceased loved ones do come to us and they do communicate with us. That is the most profound, heavenly thing ever. You know, because I do believe in angels. You know, I'm like the cowardly lion on The Wizard of Oz. I do believe in ghosts. I do.
Yeah,
believe in ghosts. But, you know. Yeah, but you know, there's a better point to that. You know, what we have dealt with has been malicious. It hasn't been. But it all hasn't been malicious. Sometimes that house is it's like walking into grandma's house. It's like it smells good. It smells like somebody's cooking. It feels homey. It feels loving. But then it feels, other times it's like, get out of here. I don't want anybody here. What are you doing in my house? Get out. And I can't tell you how many times that has come through on the ghost box or the spirit box. It says, get out, leave, get out. It even told Dave Spinks that. You know, just leave, get out.
Very possessive.
Do you think that this was like maybe the original owner or builder or?
Sometimes, yes, because when Dave was there, either last week or the week before, his Jacob Hetherington's name it came through, and Jack came through too, the mule. And Edwin, the man that was like the medium, the seer, he came through too, and he said conjuring. And it got bad. It said demon a couple of times when he was utilizing or running that spirit box. And there was a lot of interference with his videoing too. And that's another thing too, when teams come in and they're trying to do collecting data through a camera, like a video camera, before you leave the house, back it up, because we have known so many times that people get home and their evidence is gone. It's just it vanishes, it disappears. So definitely back up your stuff before you leave. You know, try to send it in an email or send it somewhere.
To have a system there in order to run it back up onto a hard disk or something, you know, or a flash drive if you got one big enough, or whatever, something that you could have an extra copy of.
Right, yeah.
Maybe even two,
You want to do that. Because I remember, January 11th, we all went in, and this was the first documentary that we had ever done. We did it with Mercenary Media and OVPRI and Kentucky Ghost Scouts, and Lady Moon, who is Daniel's high priestess of his coven. We all went in, and Mercenary Media called, and they said, listen, we've lost everything. Even Danny Huang with Kentucky Ghost Scouts, he had some stuff backed up. It wasn't in HD, but we were still able to use it, and we had to refilm, some things afterwards. We all had to go back in. But you could see, this was on my ghost story, 7 of us went up to the attic, and the lights in the attic were disconnected. I remember this clearly because I was so scared that those lights would catch on fire. Let's disconnect the lights. So we pulled the plugs in the lights. 7 of us went up. We ran the ghost box, and that's when the little girl came through, Emily Davis. She said her name was Emily, and then Mike McAllister said, what is your last name? And she said, Davis. And he said, can you say hi, Kristin? And she said, hi, Kristin, clear as day.
Oh, wow.
And that was on my ghost story. We all walked down. We had a little camera in the corner of the office area, and you could see just the tip of the attic. You could see a reflection of the light come on. So we didn't know this at the time. We all broke for dinner. We said our prayers, and everybody got in their car, and we were all leaving to go to Denny's to eat. It was like 11:30 at night, and Mike McAllister came running over to me, pounding on my window, and I couldn't understand what he was saying, and he was pointing at the attic. Every light in the attic was on. Every one of the lights in the attic was on.
And it's not wired?
No, it was not wired. And we went back into the kitchen where we had Command Central, I think is what they called it. And we were trying to figure out how did they catch that? Did they get the lights coming on? And I said, rewind it back. There was that camera in the middle, in the corner, in the middle of that office area. Sure enough, you could see the reflection of the light come on. You could see it. We finally caught that. And I believe that's what put us on my ghost stories. Just that you saw all 7 of us come up, you saw all 7 of us go down, and you saw the lights come on. And nobody touched it. Nobody touched the lights. They were disconnected.
That is cool. Now, you can't, if you know that the wiring is not hooked up, and you look up there and you see lights on up there, and there's nobody in the house, I mean, how much more proof do you need,
Right. At that point, at that very point, I knew 100% sure I was not crazy. I knew it. I could validate it. I wasn't losing my mind.
See, I told you so.
That's right. Proof's in the pudding. Rewind the tape. Play it.
Exactly. Hey, everybody, we are talking on Paranormal Talk 101 Radio. This is Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio with your host, Roger Belt, and my guest and other guest, Miss Kristin Lee, and Mr. Hubby Daniel there. Thought I'd better throw that in there so that everybody that might have tuned in late knows who we are and what we're doing. Anywho, so you instead of going to eat, you go back in.
We go back in because our mouths look like a cartoon character. It's almost like our jaws hit the floor, and the paranormal teams are all high-fiving each other because they knew, when you catch something like that, and I'm just, I'm sitting there in the truck with my publisher, and I'm like, oh, my God, do you see what I see? And she's like, said the little star to the lamb. And I'm like, shut up, don't be making fun of me. I was like, but seriously, do you see what I see? And she starts singing Christmas carols to me. She's making fun of me, but what she was doing was she was trying to, calm me down because I was just like, oh, my God, look at this. I was in a panic. And I was, the first thing that came to my head was, I'm not crazy. Mike McAllister isn't crazy. There's, 15 people here. They all see what we see. And, and finally, I'm not going to be like crazy old Maurice off of Beauty and the Beast, like that old inventor that the whole village thought was nuts. I finally, there was no reason for me to be put in a straitjacket and taken away. It was cool.
Right.
So I finally, I found that part. And then it hit me. I was like, oh, my God, this is pretty serious. Now, do we go back in this house? And what do we do now? And we went back in, and they continued to investigate the rest of the night. They ran the ovulus, and after we all went back in, I left, and they ran the ovulus in the back bedroom. And they kept saying, you can see this one. There's actually footage. We have this one up on the website and the Bellaire House Facebook page. It said run. It said murder. It said ambulance, and then it said John. And at the time, John was a very good friend of mine who was staying in the house, who had stayed in the house with me.
If you would, over on Facebook and give me the link to your webpage so I can post it up in the chat room.
Sure. Yeah, just give me a second. I can't chew bubble gum and walk at the same time, so I'm going to be quiet here for a minute.
That's fine. Don't feel bad.
She'll have it on there.
Okay, I sent it to you.
Awesome. I've interviewed a lot of people, and I've been doing this for approximately 2 years now. And I have to say that you're one of the best interviews I've ever done, and I love doing it again. Let me get this
thank
link
you,
up
Roger.
here where people can go, and there's the link in the chat room, folks, for the web page, and go check it out. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, the Foreman Brothers video, the completion of the Foreman Brothers Living Dead Paranormal video is on there. An interview with me from Sheila Parks is on there. Dave Spink's new video, it's on there. His podcast, which is a YouTube podcast. And then, up-and-coming events as well as the website. You can get to there from the website and the phone number where you can call to book things, too.
If
everything's on the Bellaire House page.
That you want to talk about, that's cool. Go ahead and let everybody know. Hello.
I'm sorry. I was trying to get I'm trying to get you something, and I can't do two things at one time. I'm just getting old, Roger. But I'm sending you the link to the website now. Here you go. Now, what did you say? I'm so sorry.
Oh, I said if you have any upcoming events that you want to tell people about, go ahead.
Yeah, actually we do. February 13th, Amy Jo will be coming to the Bellaire House for a public tour. Tickets are $35. There's an event page on Facebook as well as we've listed the event on the Bellaire House Facebook page too, but March 12th is a public investigation with Dave Spinks. He will be doing a live podcast that night. So whoever is coming to that event, do expect to be blown up all over his YouTube channel. He's got a lot of followers. I think, what did he say, Daniel? How many did he have? Daniel's gone. Anyway, he has a lot of followers.
I'm still here.
Oh, there you are. Okay. But anyway, Dave Spinks will have a lot of so if you do come to his event, you will be all over YouTube in the Bellaire House doing an investigation. And I believe those tickets are $35 too. And if you go to the Bellaire House website, you can go to, a PayPal button, pay in advance. You can pay there to secure your spot. I believe that Amy Jo's event is sold out. I do know that there's still spots available for Dave's, and again, that is Saturday, March 12th from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. And again, if people want to spend the night in the Bellaire House and use it as the Bellaire House Bed and Brunch, then it would be $75 a person. But that's what we have right now. And other teams, private teams are booking. We have a calendar on the website. If your team is interested in coming to collect data in the Bellaire House and experience it, please go to the website, and it's the BellaireHouse.webs. and go to the calendar, pick out a date, shoot us an email or a text or whatever you want to do. Say, hey, we're going to go ahead and book this date. We just ask for a $100 deposit, non-refundable deposit, so we can secure that date. And then, we have 4 people minimum, 10 people max, and then the rest of the people can pay cash at the door. But that's how we're doing it right now.
That's awesome. And like I said, if I ever manage to get up that way, I will be paying you a visit.
That's great. I can't wait.
I have a paranormal team that lives up there, all-girl paranormal. And one of these days, I hope to get up there to visit them, and it'd be nice if we could all kind of go up there as a group. That'd be cool.
Well, we're actually, Kat and I are going to be coming to Tennessee this spring. Believe it or not, there's a good friend of mine that's in Tennessee that is having some paranormal stuff and that's going on that he wants to identify, and we're going to go in and identify it for him. I think the Foreman brothers are going to go with us. So we will be in Tennessee. Clinton, Tennessee.
Clinton, Tennessee. Trying to figure where that is. What's it
I think it's
to?
like 40 minutes from Nashville or Knoxville, one of the two.
Oh, okay. I'm down here in Martin, Tennessee, so.
I'm not sure where that is.
Okay, I'm about 2 hours or so out of Memphis.
Okay. You're almost by Elvis.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much.
Pass me another jelly donut.
I didn't order no pizza, son.
Love me tender.
I've watched that movie. My wife loves Elvis, and of course we've watched every Elvis movie that there is. And yeah, that was one of them.
Yeah.
Now, me personally, I like the one where he works in the carnival or whatever. Roustabout. There you go.
What's it called?
Roustabout.
Okay. I was like the ones when he was in Hawaii. I think that's where I fell in love with the tropical part of life.
Or Viva Las Vegas, or
yeah.
Yeah, now I like the one where he's in Hawaii, where he his parents run a pineapple farm.
Yeah. That was a good one.
And GI Blues was good too.
Yeah. Yeah, good old
anyway,
Elvis.
Maybe Elvis will come and visit us. I don't know. He has to check his schedule, but I'm pretty sure he has a pretty busy afterlife too.
I bet you he does. Everybody wants to communicate with Elvis. I remember working in a psychic fair in Salem back in 2010, and a cute little old lady came in, and she was just adorable, cute as a button, and she really wanted to connect with Red Butler. And, it's like, really? It doesn't work like that, honey. She just wanted to, talk to him and tell him how much she loved him and stuff like that.
Aww. That's adorable.
Yeah. Yeah, we took our picture together. It was really cute.
You meet some of the most, what's the word I'm looking for here? Honest, real people. They're just happy-go-lucky in life. You know what I mean? And they just bubble.
That's right. Yeah.
And you can't beat that. I mean,
we're really looking forward to. We've got some really cool things going on. I've been invited to a couple of Paracons for the spring. And Dave Spinks actually invited Kat and I to come down to Daniel, help me. Are you there? Okay, he's gone again.
It's my phone. My phone keeps going in and out. I'm sorry.
What's that part in West Virginia that we have a Paracon coming up that we were invited to?
I believe it is Sulphur Springs.
Sulphur Springs. Yeah,
yes.
That's the.
Oh, okay. I believe that one. Yeah.
So we're going to be going there. I believe it's April 29th May 1st and 2nd, something like that. Kat and I are going to go down, and it's going to be pretty cool. There's a lot of really cool people that are going to be there, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't really hung out with paranormal people for a long time, so it's going to be. What's that?
What would be cool if you could do it would be to get the Boot Brothers to come and do a documentary in there.
I think that we're working on that one right now. I don't know how far it is with the progression, but I think that part of it is in the works. Kat Lang is a phenomenal lady. She's very, very cool. She's turned out to be one of my best friends. We talk to each other, message each other every day, a couple times a day. And she wants to put together this great big Bellaire House barbecue where people pay $20 and we come and we just chill. We have a big little thing in the yard. Yeah, and paranormal teens can come and we can all gather together and share stories and deal with that dirty old Bellaire House and eat barbecue.
I think that's an awesome idea, actually.
Yeah. So we're trying to get that put in the works, too, for the summer, and we would love to have anybody that's interested come, Of course, we only have, 4 bedrooms. So
I've had the pleasure of interviewing Christopher St. Booth twice, and he's a really great guy.
Yeah, I've seen him on TV. It was really cool having Bishop come down and meeting him in person, because I've always heard about him. Mike McAllister would always tell the house, I'm going to have Bishop Long come here, and for years I heard this name, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I really want to meet this guy. Yeah, and that's where I learned about the Booth, the Christopher Booth, is he was there when they all did the Destination America thing, that big episode they had on Destination America. So that's where I learned about him.
Well, now, I've watched some of their documentaries, and they're awesome. The one on Waverly Hills was awesome.
Yeah.
And I've actually been there, so I can relate to a lot of what I saw in the documentary,
He wears some really cool jewelry, too. I think his girlfriend makes all of his jewelry because it's beautiful. It's just lovely. It's lovely jewelry, and I really like to have some, Daniel.
I heard that.
I know you did.
But he's a really down to earth guy. Like I said, I interviewed him twice. He's a really cool guy, and his brother, I'm sure, is the same. Now I haven't had the pleasure of interviewing him. I wanted to get them both on together, but I never was able to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's really, in my opinion, kind of like a laid back kind of person. Kind of reminds me a little bit of myself.
Awesome. Very cool.
If I had his background, I guess I'd be what you call your laid back documentary person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I was thinking about it when you brought that up about going to these Paracons, being invited. Why don't you do one?
We are. We're planning on it. We're just trying to, this just fell back in our laps, the middle of September. So it's kind of like our first year, and, trying to balance. Cool. Yeah, balance. But, we were so busy October, November, and December. Honestly, the house was extremely busy. And from what I understand, from people that have been involved in paranormal and running paranormal businesses for a long time, that we did quite well this last quarter, just for, word of mouth. We didn't advertise or anything like that. Of course, we don't have the money to do that, and I don't think we ever would. But, it's hard to balance it because, the emotional part of that house and knowing what that house has done to the family, our family, and having our home and our life and trying to, just do our everyday thing, our jobs and the kids and stuff like that, and then knowing that, 15 minutes down the road is the Bellaire House. It's a very hard balance, and sometimes it can be very draining. So we're taking it slow. We're not rushing anything. We're not just, giddy up and go. We're taking it very slow. And, of course, there's repairs every day something comes up, like a pipe busts. Now we got to fix a pipe, So, there's just things that we have to take day by day with that house. But one day it will all work out. I'm positive, I'm positive that people will be able to come and collect what they need to collect, and, people will have experiences that will open them up to broader things in life than just what's in front of their face, Now,
see, me, I'm one of these people that I don't go into a place like that strictly just to collect paranormal evidence. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I don't, but I go into a place and I look at the history also. I like to look at the woodwork. I like to look at, the design of the house, because back then, man, they designed some beautiful stuff.
Oh yeah.
And
it's
a lot
strong.
of that, a lot of your old crown moldings were carved and intricate and all that, and your framework around your doors and your windows and all that kind of stuff. Fireplaces, it's just, I love the history.
It's a beautiful house.
I don't just go in looking for paranormal. I go in looking for and in a lot of cases, like if it's abandoned houses like that, what did they leave behind?
Right.
What tells the story? If they leave bedroom suits, dressers, all that stuff. I've seen pictures of houses where people just walked off and left everything.
Yeah.
And, you got to wonder, that tells you something right there. What would make a person just leave all their belongings behind and just leave?
We've done that. We've done that at that house.
So, you got to think when you see stuff like that, there's a reason behind this. Why would somebody just leave all their belongings and just go?
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me want to, find out what happened. What was the reason for that? I want to know if there's something in that house that drove them out, that scared them bad enough that they left everything behind and just took off.
It's sad. There was a lady that had posted, I don't know who it was, but I was scrolling down Facebook one day, and she posted this picture of this house, and it had been overgrown. And the caption under it said, "And one day they just left." And I stared at that picture for probably 15 minutes and just reflected about how many times we walked out of that house and just packed a bag and left. Packed the bag, leashed the dog, let's go, we're out of here. We've done it a handful of times.
It's just amazing, though. And I take pictures of the stuff. I want pictures of the stuff. I want pictures of the scene, where everything is just there.
Right.
And so not only am I trying to capture evidence of the paranormal, but I'm capturing evidence of the history. And
that's right.
Evidence of it's kind of like cataloging somebody's life, because when they leave all their stuff behind, they left their life behind, or their life as it was. So you're kind of you're cataloging their life at that point in time.
We Christmas just we just got out of the holiday season, and we were down in the basement of the house, and I found this old tub, like one of those plastic container tubs. And I pulled it out, took it upstairs. All of my kids' pictures from when they were, after the flood, of course, sitting with Santa Claus, sitting with the Easter Bunny, all of their pictures were still there. And that was just the best thing that I could have found in that house. But leaving something that precious behind just to get out, that you don't think, when you deal with things that are unexplainable and some things that are sometimes malicious in a house like the Bellaire House, you don't think about getting pictures. You don't think about taking that picture off the wall or grabbing that great novel that you started to write. You don't think about that. You just get out. And if it's still there and you find it one day, that's Merry Christmas. That's a good thing. But a lot of people never get to go back and claim those things. Fortunately, we have been able to do some of that. So that is a very positive thing.
That is awesome. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Time is running out on us. I want to let you guys know how much I appreciate you coming on tonight. You're, like I said before, you're one of the best interviews that I've had.
Thank you, Roger. I always enjoy talking to you. You're a jolly old guy. I love you.
I'm just a laid back old Southern boy hunts ghosts, but you're real. I mean, you don't polish anything, and that's what I like.
Thank you.
I mean,
people love me or hate me. I tell it like it is.
It comes from real experience. It's not something that it's kind of like, pardon the expression here, but like a lot of people come in and try to polish a turd and make it shine.
Right.
And you can't do that,
No.
But, I mean, you guys, it was nice to meet you, Daniel.
Absolutely. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Glad to have you here. I'm going to get ready to shut this thing down, and I appreciate very much. And, Kristin, I will ask you to come back on in the future. I'm sure there'll be new updates and stuff going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Anytime.
I would love to hear about it. You guys have been awesome. Next week I'm going to be talking to Kevin Melick, and we're going to be talking about paracryptozoology, which is kind of a new thing, I guess, in the field for anybody that doesn't relate. That's going to be interesting. You got to like talking about critters and the paranormal, because, I don't know. Do you believe in animal spirits? I'll just ask you that.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely.
Well, we're that's kind of what we're going to, I think, be getting into. I'm not familiar with it, so I'm going to find out all about it coming up next week.
You have to check out a book. It's Steve Farmer. He's PhD. He has a book out, and we use it, probably once or twice a week. It's called Animal Spirit Guides, and we do follow that. We absolutely follow the spirit guides of animals every day. Yep, they're signs, native signs.
Okay, well, anyway, like I said, I enjoyed having you. Everybody that came in the chat, most of you have left because I guess they got lost when we got lost. Everybody listening in, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. Couldn't have a show without you. Of course, we couldn't have a show without a great guest, so...
Well, we couldn't have a show without you hosting it.
True. And I have a man behind the mic.
I could host a show with Dumbo, it wouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? It's the guest that makes the show, so,
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys very much.
All right, good night, Roger. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.